hello to anybody watching. Yeah, so Sula and myself, we are on the EA Sports FC, rebranded from FIFA, team in North America. So we manage all of our marketing partnerships for the brand here alongside a larger team. Um, Both really passionate about soccer in North America, obviously women's soccer as well. As Grace just mentioned, there's been a ton of innovations in the product over the last two cycles. So in FC currently, I think we have about four women's leagues and ultimate team, which has been fantastic, and it's awesome to see the growth. But yeah, we're excited to be speaking to this group here and looking forward to any questions. And Sul and I are both based in Queens, so we're a bit local, currently facing a blizzard. So yeah, I'm not sure there's any questions to start. Or Sula, if you want to add anything to our intro. I kept it pretty brief.
No, I mean, like, I think we both really love working for EA. It's such an interesting company, and I feel like I personally never really imagined myself working on a video game. I don't know about you, Nandi, but I think when it comes to EA Sports in general, like, we really truly are the intersection of not only gaming, but entertainment and sports as well. So over the past year, I think working especially more on the women's game as we've added more female leagues into our product, especially NWSL. We're both huge fans. So getting to work in helping grow the league alongside not only them, but all of our other CFX teams, partners, all the people that work on our product, I think has really just been so like meaningful and impactful to us, and has shown me that there's like so many different ways into the soccer industry outside of just like the typical things that you might picture. So yeah, it's such an interesting, I think, like role that we play in terms of the growth of the women's game and the sport in North America in general. So yeah, the things that we're able to do just on a daily basis furthering help the sport is really meaningful and impactful to me, and it just makes me so happy to see people happy about them
Mm-hmm.
being in the game because it's so important to
Yeah,
us.
no, I agree. It's like you think about all of the jobs in soccer and traditional sports marketing. Like we worked in tech, but we also, I think our roles are very much sports marketing as opposed to tech or working on a video game. So yeah, it's the best intersection. You get to work with the most amazing brands. Both of the sponsors of this talk, MLS and NWSL, are great partners of ours too. Work with them across the board in many things. So yeah. Are there any questions to start or kick off on? Grace, I'm not sure there's a place we should be looking, whether it's in the Q&A. Oh, okay. I see one. From Emma. What has been your experience being women in this field and growing the women's game across the board? I can start. So I think just being a woman in the sports industry is it's definitely a unique experience. My path to EA actually is a little bit. I actually used to work at MLS before this, and then prior to that was at MSG, and then prior to that was interning at the New York Red Bulls. So I've kind of always been in soccer and sports since I started. And I think one of the biggest things that stood out into my journey to this role has just been Grace talked about it in the beginning, but networking, making sure people know your name, know who you are, and know what you want, what you're going for, what your goals are, what your role is going to be. And also just like knowing what you don't want, like where you don't want to work, what kind of role you don't want. For example, I'm in marketing. I used to be in sales and quickly realized that wasn't for me, and I wanted to express the more creative side, the more activation side of my skill set. So those have also been important. One thing for me especially that's been, I think, a hallmark of my experience is just kind of like putting myself out there and like not being afraid to have a voice at the table even when you may not have one, in terms of like your role, your leadership, your title. Just making yourself known as has always been important in my role, and luckily enough, at EA I'm happy to have a role where I am a little bit of a leader, and it's good to like have your voice and make sure that you're expressing your opinions on, hey, I think we're doing this right. Hey, I don't think you're doing this right, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that experience has been great. And then, as Sula mentioned, with the role that we have at EA and having women in Ultimate Team, which is our key game mode in EA Sports FC, it's awesome. It's kind of like jarring to think about, like, oh my gosh, we work on bringing all of these amazing leagues, all of these players and teams that we're such big fans of, that we know so well, to the millions of players that, oh, maybe I don't know who Gotham is, maybe I don't know who this player is. Being able to work on those campaigns is so gratifying. And yeah, it's just been amazing. But it also takes a lot of care, a lot of attention, a lot of attention to detail, and making sure that those around you who may not be as educated on the women's game are doing it justice and service. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a challenge always, not only being a woman in sports, but also video games that we also work in, which are again like a very male dominated industry, not only, working there, but also the people that play them. So I think that's like a bit of a like not struggle that we found, but something that we want to continuously improve is like how do we get more, women, NWSL fans, just fans of the women's game in general, like playing with our game because, it is intimidating sometimes. So that's why I think like all these amazing creators doing things in this space, like Casey, what she does for, women in video games, like that type of stuff is what we want to continue to push and elevate because like, without those voices, like I think, I personally, if I was just a fan, like I would feel intimidated by going into this game, loading up and like, getting beat like 10-0 or something crazy like that. So it's such a, amazing like product and platform. And I think like a big focus for us is just continuing to, make it easier for, women to get into the space and just feel comfortable in a game because it is so much fun being able to play with your favorite team and, the one true way to play with a team outside of actually just watching them live. So it's a great like product innovation and one that I think, will only continue to grow as we get more people into the game in general that are the less, video gamer type of person.
Okay, the question with the most votes right now in the Q&A is how did you get into the sports tech industry? How to get the sports tech industry, and what advice would you give on getting in? Skills needed, opportunities to look out for, picking a role, etc. Um, I can start. So I think when it comes to sports tech, it's interesting because as we talked about our roles, and I think all of the EA sports titles sit. So it's not just FC; it's FC, Madden, UFC, F1. I think we have PGA. We have a couple more sports titles. When you work, technically we do work in tech, but the roles that we have are sports marketing roles within tech. So we're responsible for marketing EA Sports FC, marketing soccer by default to an audience. So it's a really unique intersection that we've found. I think for me personally, when I was looking for my next role from where I was at previously, I was just looking for more of a creative, more marketing role, and it happened to be this one. So I don't think I sought out tech. It just kind of happened that the role that had what I was looking for in terms of creativity, opportunities for advancement, growth, being able to work on a sport that I love, being able to work on women's sports in particular. Those were the things that I looked out for, and then just ended up working for a tech company in sports. In terms of getting into the industry in general, I think you do have to be very bullish. You have to be motivated, and you can't be kind of can't let yourself get down about not hearing back from people. I think you've heard this so many times, but you have to network. You have to let people know where you want to be, what you want to do. It's sending those, cold emails to this person who works for a team that you may want to work for, or this person who has a role that you're potentially interested in that you may want to learn more about. Looking them up on LinkedIn, going to different events, presenting things like those are all ways to make yourself stand out. One story that I have from like when I was, I think I might have been like 21 or 22, like just still in college, but trying to figure out my way in the world. And I knew I wanted to work in sports. I knew I wanted to work in women's soccer. I remember going to the She Believes Summit, like in New York, I think, I don't know what year it was. But I had made like this presentation for like how I would grow the NWSL if I was like the commissioner or something. Cause that's what I did. I just couldn't stop thinking about this sport that I love so much. And the commissioner at the time was speaking, and I remember I went up to her after she spoke. I introduced myself, gave her my presentation. She gave it to someone at MLS, and that's how I got hired at the league. So it's kind of just putting yourself out there very bullishly. Sometimes will kind of get you where you need to be. And I think this industry, what's special unique about it is people are always willing to help someone else out because you didn't get to where you are today by yourself. You got there with your support system, your community, and your network. So people will always be happy to give you their time. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. So I'll kick it over to you now.
No, I definitely agree. Like, I don't think I ever saw myself working in tech. I knew I always wanted to like work in sports, but this game was something that, I loved growing up. And I think what got me into men's soccer mostly because I was always a women's soccer fan. So it was honestly this like a dream role for me when I saw this applied and I ended up, getting the job, which was just so amazing. But I think when it comes to working in tech in general, like this job has really opened my eyes up to like you don't have to if you want to work in sports and tech, like yeah, there are those like traditional roles, but there's so many cool ones too. I mean, like I can't even like begin to list like the different types of people that work on our product. Obviously, you have us on marketing, but there's like production, creative, data collection, obviously like development, software engineering, legal. Like there's so many different ways that you can like touch the sport outside of the traditional roles that you like might think of. So I think like really like finding and identifying your niche and something that is a big passion for you, like chances are like there is going to be a way to still work in soccer just by doing it, even if you think, it might be out of the traditional realm of what you typically might imagine a sports job to be. So yeah, I think that's like the biggest advice is like, just if there's something you're really like passionate about, like don't be afraid, as Nandy said, to, make those like tough decisions and do things that might be a little bit out of your comfort zone because more often than not, people are going to be willing to help you. I know, like, I'm still so young. I'm only like 23, and I feel very fortunate to be like where I am. So I know, like, anytime anyone like comes to me, I definitely want to be a resource for them. And similarly, I'm still learning so much. So like, I learn so much from you and Andy every day. I learn so much from all the different people that I work with, and that's just because, like, I think in the nature of not only the sport but the whole like industry in general, like everyone knows each other in some capacity, and building those like bridges towards the places you want to go like will honestly like only result in success. So
There's one more question we haven't addressed in the chat. It says, do you have to have coding experience to work at EA? I have experience in operations and program / project management. Yeah, I think that kind of touches on what Sula talking about with the variety of departments within EA. You don't have to have coding experience. You don't have to have a tech background. There are so many different ways to work in sports, whether it's, we have an entire events team, we have an entire operations team. I think a lot of what our teams do when you think about developing a video game is program and project management. So you definitely don't have to have coding experience to apply for a role in tech. I think it just depends whether they're being marketing.
I personally have never
Me either.
touched a
Me
code
either. I
in
think
my life,
apart from like
so-
making my MySpace when I was like 14, that's the extent of my coding experience, to be honest. So you definitely don't need to have it.